Hi everyone, so Robin here, and today I'm going to be starting a new What If series, or in this case, it's actually my rewrite of Pokemon Black and White. I'm pretty sure most people will agree with me that the original Pokemon Black and White anime had a few faults. So I decided to make a rewrite and how I think the series should have gone. So just a warning ahead, some of Ash's Pokemon would not have been caught by him or have been given to other characters. Simply because I want to give Ash different Pokemon since I believe they will fit him better, or just because I will always like Ash to have them. And some of the story attributes will change, however I believe this could become a good series. So without further ado, let's dive in. The story begins the same with Ash, his mother Delia, and Professor Oak taking a trip to the Unova region to meet one of Professor Oak's fellow professors, Professor Juniper. However, before they leave, Ash stops by the ramp to say goodbye to all of his Pokemon, but before he leaves, someone pulls at his leg. That one being none other than Gible that doesn't want Ash to leave. Ash asks Gible if he wants to come along, and Gible bites Ash in the head with glee as a response. So Ash returns Gible to his Pokeball and takes him with him to Unova. One flight later, Ash lands in Unova and starts looking around for more Pokemon, right before a thunderstorm came out of nowhere. Ash and Pikachu are surrounded by pillars of lightning, but before they can do anything, a mysterious stone flows down. But the very moment Ash touches it, the storm just disappears, with no trace of it ever being there. Just then, Ash's mother, Professor Oak, and Professor Juniper shows up to see if he's okay, and when Ash tells them what happened, Professor Juniper is quite interested of the stone that Ash had got. She asks Ash if it's alright that he does some testing on the stone, which Ash has no problem with, and with that, they all make their way toward Professor Juniper's lab. Once at the lab, Ash sees two trainers that seem to be waiting for Professor Juniper. He introduces them as Sharon and Bianca and tells Ash that they are two new Pokemon trainers who get their first Pokemon today. Bianca is friendly, but Sharon is cold and distant, not seeing Ash as something special. Once that's over, Professor Juniper releases the 3 starter Pokemon of the Unova region, Snivy, Tepig, and Oshawott. Being the first one to arrive, Sharon decides to pick first, and he chooses Snivy. While Bianca thinks it's unnecessary to mention that Sharon got here first, she still ends up choosing Tepig. Oshawott, seeing it was the only one who didn't get chosen, gets a bit sad. However, Ash comforts the little water type, saying that it's gonna find a great trainer soon. There shows Oshawott, who gets a pretty good picture of Ash. When the adults get into the lab and Professor Juniper takes the stone and going to do some experiments on it, Bianca gets excited and wants to have a battle against Sharon, seeing that now they have Pokemon, they can finally have their own battle. However, Sharon wants to battle Ash. Seeing how he's a Pokemon trainer from a different region, he's sure that he has far more Pokemon that he's never seen before, and believes it will be far more interesting. Ash, never being one to say no to a Pokemon battle, agrees, and so they immediately begin their first official battle. Sharon sends out Snivy and Ash go with Pikachu. Sharon thinks that Ash must be joking. Sending out the electric type against the grass type, that is ridiculous. However, he immediately realizes that Pikachu is far from any normal electric type. So unlike in canon, when Pikachu lost to a Snivy, which didn't make any sense, he instead wins this one, meaning Sharon now sees Ash in a different light, and now see him as a strong trainer, but one that he eventually is going to overcome. Bianca is fascinated by it, and then he immediately wants to challenge Ash to battle too. But Sharon then points out that Pikachu already battled, and Ash doesn't have any other Pokemon. However, that's when Ash reveals that he has another Pokemon with him, and sends out Gible. Sharon gets surprised seeing the base form of the Sinnoh pseudo-legendary Pokemon. Nevertheless, Ash does accept Bianca's challenge, and the battle between Tepig and Gible begins, but it appears like Gible is far stronger and is able to win relatively easily. With both battles concluded, both of the new trainers leave and begins on their Pokemon journey. Eventually, Professor Juniper comes out of the lab alongside Professor Oak and Ash's mom. He returned the stone to him and said that he couldn't figure out anything about it, saying that it definitely has some strange energy within it, but there is nothing he can do to truly find out what it is. Simply telling him to hold on to it for now, and he might find out more about it during his journey. Ash then tells his mom and Professor Oak that he wanted to check on the Unova League. Not being surprised by this, both of them wish Ash's luck, and so Ash and Unova journey have officially begun. After traveling down Route 1, Ash decided to take a lunch break and sent out Gible, but just then hears a loud scream and incoming comes a girl and immediately picks up Gible and starts hugging it. A bit later, the girl introduces herself as Iris and said that she loves all kinds of dragon-type Pokemon. After they talk for a bit, Iris wants to battle Gible and Ash agrees to have a battle. This is a 2-on-2 battle. First, Ash uses Pikachu against Iris Dino. The battle is intense from the beginning. While Dino is tough, Pikachu has a lot of experience. Eventually, it comes down to a collision Queen Irontail and Headbutt, and Pikachu comes out on top. Next, I heard out her second Pokemon, Axew. With that, I decided to return Pikachu and set in Gible. The battle between the two Dragonite is far more even. While Ash and Gible are a great team, Iris and Axew are no push over even. Using Axew's small attack here, is easily able to start multi Gible's attack and are able to deliver some pretty good hits. As Iris starts getting confident, she immediately tells Axew to go in close for a dual shot. However, just then Ash tells Gible to bite onto it, which surprises Iris. Yet then Ash tells it to launch a Draco Meteor. This completely shocked Iris. How can such a little dragon type know such a strong dragon type move? However, at the time she could react, it was too late and Axew was launched up in the air and got caught in the explosion and fell down along with the meteors, landed on the ground unconscious. I returned to Axew and said they did an incredible job. He then called him up to it and congratulated him on having such a great and powerful dragon type. It is then when Ash learned that Iris is also planning to take it on in the Unova League, and that means that Ash has another rival. So Iris leaves and promises that they are gonna meet again and have another battle. A while later, Ash eventually stumbles upon a different sort of scene when he sees a boy, a girl, and a Rufflet battling against a little Deerling. As the Rufflet seems to weaken the Deerling, the boy tries to throw a Pokeball, however the Deerling manages to break out and runs away, which caused the boy to run in disappointment as the girl trying to comfort him. Ash then walks up to them and immediately the boy recognizes him as Ash from the Lily of the Valley conference. The two introduce themselves as Hilbert and his sister Hilda, who are from Mistralton City. After the three begin to talk, Hilda reveals that he has a dream of becoming a performer in the Pokemon musical in the Buzzer City, as well as spreading the knowledge she gets there into other regions so the Pokemon musical becomes more well known. Hilbert is pretty similar to that in wanting to challenge the Unova League. However, he does not believe he's ready for it since he hasn't been able to get a single Pokemon, so he believes he's going to only do it after a few years of being on the road. I tried to encourage him, saying that the amount of time you spend on the road is not what determines a great trainer, it's the bond you forge with your Pokemon. Hilbert considering these words. However, before he can continue thinking about it, suddenly they get interrupted by the appearance of none other than Team Rocket, once again claiming they're going to capture Pikachu and Ash refusing to allow them. The battle immediately begins with Ash using Pikachu and Gible, however Jessie sends out her Survivor and Mega, as well as the new Pokemon she got in Woobat. In the meantime, James is Carnivine and Meowth joins in to battle Hilbert and Hilda as they send in Rufflet and Volibile. At the beginning, the two new trainers struggles a bit. However, seeing this, Ash shouts some words of encouragement. This inspires the duo as they immediately become on the offensive and is able to actually pushing the two Pokemon back. Back with Ash, this unfortunately goes for a turn for the worse. While Pikachu and Gible are able to push them back for a while, eventually he decides to go with a simple strategy of brute force and gaining up on one Pokemon. And first they're going for Gible. And even with the Drake, a powerful combination of Poison Tail, Sonic Boom, and Air Slash is unfortunately enough to take the young dragon out. At the attempt to do the same with Pikachu, however, just then something hits Woobat and it gets knocked out. We revealed to be a water gun from none other than Oshawott. Recognizing it as the Pokemon from Juniper's lab, I asked if he had followed him, which he confirmed. Immediately, the battle immediately takes a shift, as Oshawott be able to drown them in water and Pikachu's electric attack becoming far more effective. Then eventually, Team Rocket decided to fall back, as Ash, Hilbert, and Hilda celebrating that they were able to win. One quick trip to the Pokemon Center, Ash thanks Oshawott for helping them. A quick call to Professor Juniper later, Professor Juniper agreed to allow Ash to have Oshawott accompany him on the journey. Being more than happy, Oshawott happily joined Ash's team, becoming his first Unova Pokemon. Furthermore, both Hilbert and Hilda are incredibly impressed by Ash, and Hilbert decided to ask Ash if he is allowed to accompany him, with Hilbert telling Ash that he's not sure if he can truly become strong enough to take part in the Unova League. However, he believes that with Ash helping him, he should at least have a good shot. Not being wanted to request down, Ash agrees to it, and the three of them become traveling companions for a foreseeable future. Eventually, the gang get to Accumula Town, but then they notice there be some sort of protest going on, so they decide to look into it. That's when they see a bunch of strangely dressed people and a man calling himself Getsin. He introduces himself and his follower as Team Plasma, and that basically does the same speech as at the end of the game. It's about how Pokemon should be related to people, and they are not meant to coexist with humans. This Durham make reactions on the ground, but they eventually leave and let people to ponder on their words. Ash is downright outraged with what they said. He doesn't believe anything they just told him. Hilbert and Hilda are pretty much in agreement with Ash, saying that they love their Pokemon and it doesn't feel right to separate. But just then, a certain green-haired man comes up to them, introducing himself as N, saying that he understands and actually agrees with what Team Black said. This caused some tension between him and Ash, and when N tried to approach Pikachu and ask what he thinks, Pikachu is full on with Ash here. N can't believe it, and he seems to be somewhat angry with it. Saying that he wants to hear the inner voice of Ash's Pokemon more, he challenges Ash to a battle. As Ash uses Oshawott, N calls upon a Purloin nearby and asks it to help him in battle, which it does. Eventually, Ash and Oshawott are able to push Purloin back, and N calls a stop to the battle, saying that he doesn't want his friend to get hurt more. With that, he leaves, and Ash has a strange feeling that he's gonna run into this N character again, and their ideals are gonna clash once more. The story continues, and the event of when Ash first encounters Santa goes pretty much the same as it did in the canon, since Hilbert and Hill, they're replacing Iris, didn't really change much. The episode when the gang reaches the Battle Club also goes pretty similar to the canon. The only difference here is that thanks to Rufflet, Hilbert is the first one to find Tepig, meaning Tepig mainly belongs to him, and Hilbert asks Tepig if he wants to come with him on the journey. Tepig will agree, but only if Hilbert managed to beat him in a battle. So Hilbert does so, battling Tepig with his Rufflet, and eventually is able to capture it. So the game eventually moves on, with Hilbert adding a second Pokemon to his team. Eventually, the gang managed to reach Strand City, and Ash is starting to take part in its first official Unova League gym battle. On their way, they run into Silent, and he explains his dream of being a Pokemon connoisseur, pretty much inside canon, and eventually brings them to the gym, where he introduces himself as one of the gym leaders alongside his brother, Shilly and Cress. When Ash challenged them to a gym battle, they explain that they actually hold the battle in triple battles, a format Ash is not familiar with. However, being Ash, he's never said no to a challenge, and he agrees to take part. The battle goes underway, and the brothers use the trio of Pansage, Pansear, and Pamport, while Ash uses the trio of Pikachu, Gible, and Oshawott. The battle immediately begins, and it's clear that the Strides and gym leaders are definitely having an advantage, having already worked together multiple times. Which it contradicts the other Pokemon that haven't battled together for too much, because Oshawott only a recent addition, and Gible only came on later on in his dinner journey. They do struggle a bit, but Ash is able to get the three together, and the first one to fall is actually Shilly's Pansear. Upon seeing that Gible is a stronger threat, Crest and Silent combine their attack and actually is able to take it out. However, at that point, Pamport is taking a lot of damage, and a quick Thunderbolt from Pikachu is able to take it out, meaning now it's a 2-on-1, but Pansage still pulls pretty hard. However, it eventually comes to an end when Pikachu and Oshawott lands a dual strike of Iron Tail and Wraith Shell, which caused Pansage to fall, and meaning Ash wins his first Unova gym badge. Silent explained to Hilbert that they're gonna have to wait until tomorrow because their Pokemon are exhausted, but Hilbert realizes that he only has 2 Pokemon, so he can't take part in a triple battle even if he wanted to. When the king reaches the Pokemon Center, Hilbert tries to figure out how he can take part in a triple battle with only 2 Pokemon, with Hilbert suggesting that Hilbert go out and catch a new Pokemon. However, before they can attempt that, they notice that the mysterious pink mist shows up outside. When they rush outside, they run into Dr. Venom, who explains that something mysterious had gone on at Dream Zone, with the gang immediately offered to go investigate. But when they arrive, they immediately notice that their spotted Team Plasma Girls surrounding the place, and they immediately notice that they are surrounding a poor Munna. They demand to release it, but Team Plasma refuses, saying that they're going to use Munna's dream power to force people that have dreams about releasing the Pokemon against their wills. This infuriates the group, and they immediately begins to battle, with Ash using Gible, Hilbert using Tepig, and Hilda sending out a Pokemon she hadn't used before, Ardina. The Plasma Girls immediately send out a barrage of their own Pokemon. However, Ash and the gang are doing pretty well, with Gible serving as the front attacker, Tepig going in and providing backup when Gible needs it, and Ardino serving as support. We then come to when Hilbert battling the Team Plasma Girls that guards Munna, and immediately using Tepig against the Patrat. Hilbert is able to defeat the Patrat eventually and able to free Munna from Team Plasma clutches. Not long later, Officer Jenny shows up and is able to rid all of the ground, with only reinforcement that Team Plasma is definitely up to no good. When it's all over, Hilbert tells Munna she can go back now, however, Munna doesn't want to. He wants to stay with Hilbert, being more than happy to, Hilbert carrying Munna and having a third Pokemon on his team. When the gang got back to the Pokemon Center, they spent the rest of the day and a bit of the following day training and helping Hilbert getting more accustomed to a triple battle. When they felt all good and ready, Hilbert returned to the gym and challenged the 3 gym leaders to a battle. The gym leaders used the same 3 Pokemon as before, as Hilbert using all of his 3 Pokemon, Rufflet, Tepig, and Moona. When the battle started, Hilda noticed that Hilbert is actually using the same strategy they used when he fought against Team Plasma. Tepig serving as the frontal attacker, Rufflet falling close behind the backup if needed, and Moona serving as support. It's an effective strategy, and in the end, they are able to take out Pempor very early on. However, that unfortunately pushed Chili and Silent to push even harder. Noticing how Moona served as a great supporter, they immediately focused all their attack on Moona, which eventually caused it to get done quickly. Hilbert at that point started to panic, but some encouragement from both Ida and Hilda, Hilbert was able to get back into it, having actually Rufflet to fly around with Tepig so they can easily move around and dodge attack, and actually he provides some great aerial attacks. Eventually, it's enough to take down Panzer. However, Tepig is already quite exhausted, so a quick soul beam from Panzer is able to take it out, leading it to a one-on-one with Panzer and Rufflet. The battle is a back and forth, but eventually Type Measure wins, and Rufflet is one left standing, and Hilbert is also able to earn the trio badge. The three traveling companions celebrate their success and eventually get on the road again to continue their journey. However, the following night, a mysterious movement is detected in the Dream Yard. It's none other than Team Rocket as they start gathering up Moona and Mushana's dream energy for a future project. And that will be all for today. Thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe if you like this, and I'll see you all in part 2. Bye!